That part's so important. You don't want to build in an area where no one's going to.
Are you looking for a business investment that's easy to start, flexible, and cash generating? Then opening a laundromat is for you. Welcome back to Laundry Money. This is your place to hear the ins and outs of every step of the design, construction, and operation of your laundry business. I'm Max Brandstetter, podcast producer at Hippo Direct and host of the Wild Business Growth Podcast, and I am here with Howard Shear and Rex Anderson from Lakeside Laundry Equipment, your guides every step of the way. Howard and Rex, how are you today?
Hi, Max. It's Howard Shear with Lakeside Laundry Equipment.
Hey, Max, this is Rex Anderson with Lakeside Laundry Equipment.
Thank you guys for joining. The topic today is how do I start a laundromat business? So in the first episode, we covered the background of Laundry Money and why you should start a laundromat business. Today, we're going to get into that first step. So if you already have decided, you know what, this is something I'm interested in, here's how we actually get the ball rolling. So today we're going to talk on where and how to build your laundromat business, what the key indicators are to look for, and what you want to avoid. So we'll start off with you today, Howard. Where do we start with this? So I think site selection is a key point from the beginning. How do you start and how do you know where your site might actually be for your laundromat business?
We have a vast knowledge of our territory, and the distributor in that area should also know the territory, where the stores are at, where the old stores are at, and where the dying stores are at. You can contact a distributor in your area and understand what their background is and what they understand of their marketplace. Once you choose the company you want to begin the journey with, then they should be able to provide you with a site selection of good locations that have not been built on. The other way is to possibly, let's say I've had a customer inherit a piece of property and didn't know what to do with it. Ended up, that store happens to be one of the best stores we're running today. It's that easy. Selection of location is always the key in getting into the marketplace with a vendor or distributor you feel comfortable with.
And if you're interested, so if you're working with somebody who's going to give you some options, some strong options for potential sites, how many different sites should you expect to get back there from an initial level?
At least I would say half a dozen, at least just to get the ball rolling, and have a true comparative analysis. And within that comparative analysis, you would want to see, demographic studies of each location, traffic studies of each location, competitive studies of each location. The list goes on, but you really want to have somebody there with you to hold your hand through the process, and be able to and be able to tell you, which factors are good, which factors are bad, and which factors are the most important in that aspect.
And I think the partner aspect is so important. So can you guys speak from your experience? What are you guys doing? What work are you putting in behind the scenes to make sure you have all the latest and greatest information about demographics and info about the area and really all the reasons why, X site might be the best for you?
So we have invested thousands and thousands of dollars in programs that help us break down the demographics without getting into the boring, taking out the census, which is always 10 years old. We have other ways of figuring out the trends in the real-time data. We have market studies that we pay for. It's not just throwing a dart at a map and saying, that's a good location because it's low income and there's no laundromats in the area. That might be, but you need to have a company that has the knowledge and has invested into the community to know what that number can be.
And Rex, how about on your end? What else comes to mind on how you guys do a deep dive into these potential sites?
So as Howard mentioned, we do, we have invested, several $1,000s into, buying these programs that we can do demographic studies. And as I mentioned before, with traffic analysis, that part's so important. You don't want to build in an area where no one's going to, I mean, the first to the wall always gets bloody, but that being said, why would you want to be the first to the wall? Yeah, and you want to, you want to look at look and see, where a place that people are going to, whether it be a dollar store, a grocery store, which is one of the reasons why traffic patterns are so important with that. You also want to see where people are renting, which areas have more students, more elderly, big families, so that's one of the things that you really want to look for.
An investor needs to also think how relatively available they are in case of an emergency. So, do I want to build a store 300 miles away when I have to be there? Can I get somebody there close enough? Do I have somebody reliable who can back me up when I'm not available? Those are key factors of picking a location.
That makes sense. So you're saying I shouldn't do a site in Hawaii if I'm going to be in France for the rest of the year.
You can, unless you have a very good family member that you trust that'll be there when you need them.
Okay. I'm describing my family. So,
Okay.
um, so that's on the site selection note as far as where. So let's say you've decided on your site and you're really excited. This is where your laundromat business is going to be. What are the first steps you need to take as far as actually making it happen and starting with construction or the building of this business as opposed to, it just sitting there with your site?
Before you actually go and sign a lease, you need to do the demographics and see if it's a potential site that you're able to invest or be willing to invest in. The investments may vary from site to site depending on traffic and demographics. Person needs to sit down and know what they're able to spend every month based upon those demographics. And having that done, they need to know what the bottom line is that they have to operate on. So, give you an idea, we don't give a person a pie in the sky number because we're not about just putting machines out there and building stores. We're really truly about being successful and having the success we've had since 1992. So you're qualifying and quantifying the location, and then you're using those numbers to make sure that you can support and generate enough income based upon the investment.
And on kind of the flip side of things, so Rex, can you share some red flags or things you want to avoid when you're at this stage of the process?
Yeah, so when you're at the infinitesimal stages of the process, when you're trying to see if it's the right investment for you, really the right partner, they'll be honest with you. They'll tell you if, if it is that pie in the sky number that, as Howard was mentioning. They may have unrealistic expectations. They may think they're able to walk in, with zero money down, put no money into it at all, and all of a sudden it's churning at $100,000 a year. Sometimes it's just not realistic, and you need the right partner to be honest with you and tell you when something is right. So even though a laundromat can and is a great investment, you can find a partner out there that, they will say that over this, that pie in the sky number, and they will rip the mat from underneath you. You want someone that's there with you to walk you through the whole process beginning to end, step by step. If the investor is getting cold feet, you want someone that can, that can help guide them.
That is such a great point. And on the partner side of things, just to add a little bit of clarity here, what comes to mind when you think of an outstanding partner in this laundromat business world? What makes an outstanding partner as opposed to a run of the mill one?
It's a very easy question to answer, is based upon the history of their success. That makes a great partner. Are they building 300 stores and out of the 300, 100 of them are closing every year? That's great that they're moving a lot of metal, but they're also having a lot of used metal. I would be very careful to choose your partner wisely, like anything. Ask your distributor for the retention rate and the repeat customers. They should be able to give you a list without thinking twice about it. Every store that they build should be the same over and over again with the same story. We did a great job. Everybody will have a hiccup while building. Everybody does, everybody can. But who comes out of it successfully and supports you all the way to the end? That history, that knowledge is what Lakeside Laundry Equipment does for you. And choosing the right distributor will do for you.
And that hit home with the hiccup standpoint. Everybody's, I know it's a metaphor, but on that, everybody's experience that when you get some hiccups and you get some, you just can't get them to go away. But when you think about the long haul and you can nip those small problems in the bud and turn it into a positive venture overall, that's where the right partner really, really makes the difference. So we've covered in this episode several different elements of how you do start a laundromat business and what's involved. What else comes to mind to you, Howard and Rex, of what you need to bring to the table to make this actually happen?
So Max, that's a great question. So outside of a couple, a couple areas that you're interested in building, and that you're interested in looking at, so you can begin the process. Another thing is make sure you have your finances in order. Make sure that you have, I would say, between 30 and 35% roughly of total laundromat investment. Make sure you have that. That way, you're setting the expectations right.
The biggest problem I have ever seen was an investor getting excited about a location, diving in, signing a lease, and then all of a sudden finding out utilities aren't available. So you need to have a profession. You really need to trust the professional distributor that understands what you need to avoid, because that partnership does not end at the day the store opens. You need to be able to rely on that distributor for continued knowledge. So having a good partner at the start to help you avoid the little hiccups that are possible will also be a trend that'll be later for you when you have issues possibly down the road.
And that brings up another thought. Let's say you have the site figured out, you've got your laundromat business off the ground. How do you know really early on that you are poised for a successful business? What are some key early signs that you've done the early steps correctly?
When you go to finance and when you present the package to a bank, and hopefully you'll use a bank that understands this industry, you don't have to, but it makes it easier. When you get the approval from the bank, that is knowing that your work was done correctly. No bank is going to back $150,000, $250,000 store without having the right numbers in place. Unless you have millions of dollars at your need and you're not going to use a bank, then at that point, that knowledge that they present to the banking industry, knowing that the bank's not going to take a failed store, will help you be successful in the long run.
And that's a heck of a teaser for episode 3 of Laundry Money, which is next, where we'll dive into the finances more and answer the question, just how profitable could a laundromat business be? Thank you, Howard, and thank you, Rex. This has been another episode of Laundry Money. And thank you, listeners, for listening to Laundry Money. You can bring your laundromat business to life by visiting lakesidelaundry.com/podcast and filling out the form. Until next time, keep it clean.
The numbers discussed in this podcast are based upon estimates and may vary from location to location. Past performances are no guarantee on future estimates, but are used as a guideline.